So other than just being a little tired, but it's funny because I came in on Tuesday because we had our trainer school that started on Wednesday, and I was like, it's great. I can kind of take it easy on Wednesday, and that was not accurate at all. So part of the reason why is because finally I get to talk to you guys about at least what happened this morning. Which was it's not even changes, it's really like a redesign if you think about it.
Yeah.
So, and which is really exciting because it's the first time ever in the history of Secret, globally, where normally when we announce something, here's what usually happens. We announce something, we test it out, we make sure we work out the kinks, is it working, all that other stuff, and then we take the new things that we launch here to the rest of Mexico, Colombia, to Japan, to to wherever, right? And the first time on Monday, we shared with the Diamonds and above what was going to be coming today that you guys just heard. And on Monday, the Diamonds globally who heard about what we're going to be doing in the U.S. because we want them to be prepared so they're not, their team doesn't ask them what's going on, right? And the entire world said, no, we're not waiting. We want to do it with you. So Tuesday I'm on Hong Kong, then Tuesday night I'm on with Australia, then Wednesday night I'm on with Mexico and Colombia, and then I'm on with Vietnam, and then I'm on with all the other world because they were like, we need to understand this program because we want to launch Tuesday with you guys, and I've never experienced anything like that before. Part of the reason why, which I think you guys are getting and grasping, is it's so simple. So, all right, I got it. Now we can just go to work, so we can stop talking about stuff that you don't understand anymore. Right? So the simplicity is one of those big things to speed up. But I was planning on having more time, but apparently I've been called the Swiss Army knife for the weekend. I am not on the agenda, but apparently I'm now on the agenda in multiple places, and one of them is right after lunch. So I gotta go back down to work on what I'm gonna say. And with the announcements, it's the first time ever I've seen this where our trainers we're not using to do trainings, we're using our trainers to do announcements. Like Matt didn't do a training, he did an announcement. That was one of his Bootcamp training topics. That's how many topics and announcements there are, is our trainers don't have time to do trainings. Which is going to be really cool. But the only thing I will say is this, is for heading into the weekend, I had a moment yesterday. That was really cool. So, hi. Hey. Good to see you. So where we sat down at the Golden Above meeting, and I sat down in between Jay, Chris, Trish, and Kimmy. And it was the first time we were all back together in 4 years. And so, yeah, we do. And it kind of took me back 4 years ago to when this happened. And I got a chance to have dinner last night with Chris and Bridget.
We cleaned up the Chipotle.
Yeah, I saw that. And when it was interesting because I kind of was forgotten time frames, life, busy, and they've been over in South Korea, and I do miss you. I'm so fucking glad you're here. But kind of had that moment because the reason this happened was Chris Kim, which most of you probably don't know the story, called me and said, hey, there's a guy that I want to introduce to Secret. I used to live on his couch. And I think he'd be interested in this. And he actually promoted his wife. She's beautiful, skincare, this stuff. She'd be perfect for Secret. And so ended up sitting down, meeting Chris and Long Beach for lunch 7 years ago?
8
years ago?
8 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Might be before 2013.
So 8 years ago, and then they went out there and worked and created and met all of these people and created a business, and it wasn't the business that kept them together, it was their relationships. And real relationships that transcended what we did in this business model. And that, to me, it was funny when the conversation came and Chris said, hey, our company is ditching the network marketing side, what do we do? And when I got to be on Zoom for the first time and meet Kimmy and meet, oh, don't look at you. And I'm, you know, when you build this business long enough, you get good at you learn the skills to build this business. It's not difficult to build teams. I know right now for some of you it may seem difficult to build teams because you're like, yeah, no, you're wrong. It's hard. I know right now it'll feel that way, but just like learning simple arithmetic was hard at one point and then it wasn't. Learning how to write or read was hard at one point and then it wasn't. Learning how to build teams may be hard for you, at some point it won't be. So the challenge that I experienced and now doing this for 19 years was building teams wasn't the issue for me. It was finding people that you want to build the business with forever. And you don't get to choose who signs up in your team. But you got to serve them all. And there are those that, I wanted to serve everybody, but like the people that you just absolutely love building with. And at that time, what had happened is the people I started Secret with, a lot of my friends, even though I had great relationships with them, they left Secret. And I was lonely. So watching the relationships that they had created with each other, and then when they came to Secret, 4 years ago, then interestingly enough, I know some of you guys never left Secret, but we weren't building together continuously. So that was a really cool moment for me. I'm having my moment. This isn't for you. This is all for me. I obviously have no agenda to this conversation. I don't even know where we're going. I'll get somewhere at some point. But I have to thank Trish and Rob because you guys went out and found a way to create an example that brought everybody back together. Because had you guys not done that in 2020, which part of me even through there were periods of time where I'm like, I wonder when they're going to tell me they're going to leave. Because I thought that, I was thinking that was eventually going to be the scenario because you just don't have top quality people that stay when they're not successful. So and then having them find their way to be successful in Secret, and then obviously connecting, with Ruth, who obviously is so sad that she can't be here. So between Ruth and then creating, Truth and seeing that start to unfold, and then see the success, and then the success of that, and then having this come back together. And I know I knew that I always knew that, and I saw that this would happen. But then yesterday was the realization of something that I thought would happen one day, and that day was yesterday. So I know that's nothing to do with you guys, but that's what I want you guys to know is how fortunate you are to have the leadership that you guys have in this room. And that's not a me thing at all, by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't create this team. I didn't. You guys did. In fact, interestingly enough, I've worked much harder in other groups that were far less successful that complain about my lack of support. And this group of people, and what you guys have done and taken on the leadership is it is a absolute joy to have you a part of our business. But I believe that this group of people represents what Secret is about.
Watch this space.
So yeah, so
we're going for it, girls.
So I know that you guys are just about to hit your stride, and a big part of what it is that we have been putting together is incongruent with what you guys are doing to simplify, which is really, 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 really exciting. So there's a lot to happen this weekend. the announcements tonight, the announcements tomorrow, and all that other stuff. And what's so exciting is you guys get to build with a group of people where you'll never, ever, ever, ever have to worry or have the experiences that most people have in network marketing that are purely ugly and some of them straight evil.
And in family in general sometimes.
Yeah. So, I like, for me, don't tell any of the other teams, because I have a lot of teams. But like you have kids, you have a favorite. You don't tell them. But we know, we know who your favorite is. You love them all, but you have a favorite. Don't look at each other. So, okay. No, but what I look at it and I go, if I was going, I'm starting all over, so to speak, and I could sign up in secret, I would be sponsored by Trish and Rob. Because I know who they are, I know what they do, I know how hard they work, I know how dedicated they are. I've seen them through the ups and the downs, and the loyalty through no matter what is the things that is like, those are the people that have been battle hardened, that have been through it, and I know where they're going to be, and I know where their heart is, and I'm not worried about no matter what's going to go through, and I've watched them triumph through it. So I'm excited that you guys are getting recognized this weekend. You guys are really, really fortunate to be in my room. In their business. So if there's one piece of advice I'll give you that's actually, I think, probably relevant for you, because probably none of that was, that was more cathartic for me, is this. Goal setting is an interesting skill that most of us are really bad at.
Yeah.
But most of us don't look at goal setting as a skill. We look at goal setting as an action. So, and I want you to shift that mindset as to redesign that goal setting as a skill that you learn to get better at, just like a skill of hitting a golf ball is a skill. It's not an action, right? Now, if you're bad at that skill and you keep hitting it wrong, a lot of times when we set goals, what I've noticed is that most people set goals for gain. Right? So gain is something that most of us are looking for. I think all of you are here for something bigger, something better, something more you wouldn't have invested in sacrifice. Now some of you are just here because you're like, sounds like a good time, and being at home sucks. So we're glad that you're here. But for the gain and the hope of gain in my experience for me has never been a big enough motivator to me to be consistent in the daily activities and the weekly activities required to be successful long-term in this industry, for me, and maybe for you. But if most of you are honest with yourself, if gain was enough, you would have already gotten there. Because how many of you guys know what to do and you just don't do it all the time, right? So in other words, the gain was the gain is always there, the bonuses are always there, the income's always there. So I started redefining goal setting is not what am I gonna get, but what am I gonna give up? So if you wanna go up, you gotta give up. So it's a choice, a conscious choice of what are you gonna let go of this weekend, or what are you gonna stop doing this weekend? What are you gonna do less of? Not just, I'm gonna go work harder. Because consciously and subconsciously, one of the things, and I don't want you to fall in this pit, because I see people do this, is they set a goal and they miss it. How many of you guys have set a goal and missed it? Right? So set a goal and missed it, and then set a goal and missed it. Right? So one of two things happens when you do that continuously. You either stop setting goals because you go, I don't even want to set a goal because I'm tired of being disappointed, or you set the goal and you go, I'm going to hit this goal, and immediately your brain, conscious or subconscious, goes, bullshit. You don't believe yourself. So you guys have heard the slogan or the saying, talk is cheap? I don't actually believe that. I believe people have cheapened their talk. Because Isaac's talk is not cheap.
Right.
Not to me.
No.
I don't think it's to you.
Mm-mm.
Talk, his words, his talk is not cheap. The reason why is because the tongue in his mouth matches the one in his shoes. Right? So, meaning he walks his talk. His talk isn't cheap, but most people's talk is cheap but goal setting is not a step, it's a skill. And so I want you to look at it just like you can learn to be good at presenting, learning to be good at goal setting. And goal setting is a difficult skill, but it is as important and rarely gets talked about in that fashion That's one of the most important. And one of the most important things that you can do is try to find a way to figure out how am I going to use pain as a motivator in my life. So for me, if I look at going back, I'm a little childish. You haven't noticed? And they're like, well, you were always a kid. And the answer is that kind of. But honestly, when I look back from 20 to 24 was my sacrifice. 4 years I gave up of going all in into network marketing to figure this thing out to get to 100 grand a year and then been free ever since, really. Not that it hasn't been difficult, not that I don't have challenges, but I've never worried. And I've been, successful since then. So I never had a year after my first year I made 100 grand, and I made less than 100 grand a year in network marketing, and that was 2006. And now it's uncomfortable.
Yep, a lot.
$250,000 a month on average. And that's a lot of money. That's $1 million every year. Mr. Window. It's $1 million every 4 months.
Yep.
All the good you can do.
Crazy. So anyway, but the reason why I'm sharing that is, I make some jokes, and some of you guys heard the trainings where I gave up, going to movies, or I gave up doing this, or I made sacrifices. Here's the sacrifice I gave up from 2024. I gave up being a kid. I didn't have a kid. I gave up being a kid from 20 to 24. Friday nights, I was not once, and I don't mean sometimes, never. Every Friday from 20 to 24, I was in a mastermind meeting with people twice my age looking at me like I was crazy. Because they were like, it's Friday night, it's 10 p.m. at night, why are you here? On my 21st birthday. I was like, because I don't want to be your age and having to be in these meetings. So that was my brain. I gave up those 4 years. So I gave up being a kid. All of you are gonna have to decide what you're gonna have to give up for a short window, and it might be a couple of years.
Right.
Most of you, if you're being honest with yourself, when I said what are you gonna have to give up, most of you probably already thought, you kind of already know. So when you're setting your goals coming out of this weekend, I want you to think about not just where you're going and the actual hard work you're gonna do, but what are you gonna be different? What are you gonna let go of? What are you gonna do differently? What are you gonna set aside, even if it's a short sacrifice, in order for you to have the freedom that this industry provides? Because things are a lot of work, but once it's there, it is very, very exciting. And for many of you guys, we just made the tracks a lot smoother and a lot faster. So,
Yep.
I'm done.
Thank you so much.
I won't cry.
Oh.
So, you guys are more than welcome to use tomorrow. If you guys want to meet tomorrow and do some more stuff, there's a lot more content coming. But I gotta go get down there and figure out what I'm doing. So,
Love you.